I've gotten a number of requests on how to write songs. And I've helped people learn how to do that, and I learned how to do it myself because that was one of my goals with learning guitar. It just took a lot of time of asking a lot of questions and just trial and error, but there's definitely some stuff you can do to sort of get the process started. So, one second. So basically, here's what I would do if you have never written a song and you just want to get started. Get a piece of paper and get a pen, or you can just, I actually type lyrics and I type stuff, but I'm just going to do it on a piece of paper. And then get something to record yourself. And I'm just trying to like make it as simple as possible, but you could use like, if you have GarageBand, that would be a good solution. What you can do, if you have Siri, voice memo. You can go to this voice memo thing. And this actually, like, sometimes I have song ideas when I'm like driving around or something. I'll just like pull over and record it with this. Or you can get like Audacity for PC or like whatever. And then what I would do is just use only 3 chords, G, C, D. And this is what one of my teachers told me when I was trying to start writing songs. Because I knew a lot, but it was hard to just focus on like, what do I need to do to get this going? So you could write this on a piece of paper, G, C, D. And then if you don't know those chords, you need to learn those chords. So these are really easy ones that like are used all the time. So G looks like this. So 3, 2, 0, 0, 0, 3. And, if you know how to do it like this, it's okay. This way is not the best way to do a G chord. This way is different. It has an extra note, but that works. However you know how to do G, but if you don't know how to do it, learn it this way first. So you gotta be able to do that chord. And then you need to know C major. So 3, 2, 0, 1, and 0. Notice my thumb's right here. That's because I don't want to hear this bottom string. If you strum a C chord and you have E in the bass, it's going to sound bad. So you can just keep your thumb here near the 2nd fret. Don't push down. Just let it hang out there. So when you strum, it mutes out. And notice even when it was on G, my thumb was there. And then the last chord is D major. 0, 2, 3, 2. Makes like a triangle shape that points to the right. On this one, you also don't want to hear the lowest string, but you can actually hit the A string and it sounds fine. So like what I would do for a first song is force yourself to only use these chords. So then what you need to do is don't even worry about anything fancy. Don't worry about like, or fancy strumming. The hardest thing is going to be like figuring out how to sing. Not sing and play even, like that's hard, but just to sort of come up with ideas. So this is a very vague thing that everyone probably has their own ways to do it. But what I found is you just kind of start humming stuff. Like try not to think too hard. Like it's kind of like daydreaming. So you just kind of start strumming and you just start mumbling stuff or just start humming. So like boom, boom. If it doesn't feel right, like boom, like that's kind of low. And sometimes what I'll do is pick a note somewhere. Boom, 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 boom. That's too high. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe this one. If you just pick a note, sometimes it can help to kind of latch onto something. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. You start kind of mumbling. Like nothing should come out right away. Boom, 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 boom. Then just switch to one of the other chords, whichever one you feel like. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. notice I used this note, I picked it and sang this note. And I don't have a good voice. I never took voice lessons. But a lot of the bands I like, none of the singers have good voices. I still would like to take voice lessons, but if you're not a good singer, it doesn't matter. You can still have fun. So then after that, you just start just humming or whistling, like. If you can't whistle, then just hum like I was doing. And notice I'm doing all down strums. I'm not going to do anything fancy. Alright, so once you can do that, the next step is to just start like trying to get phrases to come into your mind. Like, sometimes like I have an idea for a song and beforehand, but a lot of times I don't know what I'm gonna do. So like a lot of times I'll say something really stupid, like I was walking, because I was walking is so vague, but it gives me like something. I was walking too far. I was walking too far. It's kind of not really doing much for me. I was trying too hard. No, I wrote a song about trying. I don't want to do that. I was loving too hard. I was trying to hold you too damn close. So love songs are easy to write, so still not feeling it, so I'm not gonna write it down yet. It's like kind of almost at the point I would start writing some stuff down. How can you stand so silently? Oh, so I like that. That sounded kind of cool. It was kind of a weird word, silently. I've never sung that. So how can you stand so silently? And I usually type up lyrics. So this is kind of weird for me to handwrite it. How can you stand so silently? Just felt weird to sing silently, and I kind of like weird music or stuff that feels weird to sing or play. So yeah, I just wrote it down. How can you stand so silently? And if you're a beginner, you might need to write the chords down. So I was going, how can you stand? Now notice what just happened. That little thought just came in my mind so fast that I already forgot what I was doing. So that's actually why when I write songs now, I actually record like right away. Because then if there's a raw idea like that, sometimes it'll slip by. And now I have to try to remember how I sang it because it was kind of quirky. How can? So I think I came in like it wasn't a pickup beat. So let me see if I can even remember it. I can't remember it, so now I have to kind of remake it. How can you stand so silently, silently alone? Now it feels totally wrong. So I'm not going to do that, but maybe I'll start out with how can you stand. So that felt kind of like it's going to lead somewhere. How can you stand and stare as the world passes by? So now, instead of even writing it, I'm going to get out my recorder, and if you have something to record it, I'm just going to let this go. Like while I'm playing right now, just start recording right away. Because, so it's recording right now, because then if I forget, I can listen to it and remember what I just said, so then I can redo it. Because it's so, like, these ideas, when they're original, like, they'll fly by real fast. So it's important to have recording, and also it helps you to kind of have a little bit more objective view of how you sound, instead of just keeping it in your head. So how can you stand and stare as the world passes by with without a care, without a dream. You just stare. So it's starting to turn into something. So normally I would type this up, but I'm actually not going to do that because it's so slow right now. But right now it's like, it's kind of at the point where I kind of want to hear what I was doing, so I would get my recording out. So it's recording right now, because then if I forget, I can listen to it and I buy it real fast. And then I play over what I just did, so I can remember what I was doing. It kind of have a little bit more objective view of how you sound, instead of just keeping it in your head. So how can you stand and stare as the world passes by without a care? You stare. So now I would write it down because it's starting to get in my head. So how? And when you make up this song with these chords, it will usually sound kind of folky unless you have a really good voice. Just because of the nature of these chords. So how can you stare? Or stand. How can you stand? Because there's a guy like standing. And stare as the world passes by without a care. And that's kind of where I ended. Normally I would type this because I'm a faster typer than my handwriting's pretty bad. And then if you're a beginner, what you can do if you're typing it or handwriting it is put the chords right above where you make the switches and make the recording of yourself. So how can you stand? And then G came in. How can you stand and stare? And then I went to C on stare. As the world is G passes by. I went to D. Without a care. I went to C. And then I'm going to say you stare. I like to repeat words. You stare. So I went back to without a care. You stare. Now I don't really know what my next idea is going to be. So sometimes, like when the lyrics are going one direction, like I'll just sing them enough until something else happens. Or I'll try to throw myself kind of a curveball and like think of something that, throw some word in there that maybe will trigger something. So, how can you stand? And I'm just doing all down strums. I'm trying to keep this simple. But if you're better, I mean, you could try like. You could do some picking or something. I sometimes actually just like to strum stuff until I have an idea and then do some picking. But sometimes I mean, there's not really any right way to do this. Like sometimes you have a riff and you can make up stuff. I'm just trying to keep it simple, but if you want, at this point, you could start trying some other stuff. But so let me see. How can you stand and stare as the world passes by without a care? You stare like a, so like a, what would be staring? I want to have something like about dreams in here. So I don't know, I really don't, sometimes original ideas come into your mind, but a lot of times, like most songs, a lot of them that I like, they're not really that interesting. So sometimes like something cool will come in your head right now, not feeling it, so without a care, you stare like your dreams. Actually, I'm going to talk about looking high, because people think I'm high on YouTube a lot. maybe because I'm like introverted, but I'll throw that in there as a personal, for my personal pleasure. So like you're high. So how can you stand and stare as the world passes by without a care? You stare, look alert, they'll think you're high. Alright, look alert, they'll think you're high. So now it's becoming like a little more personal. Like I might not keep these lyrics exactly how they are, but I kind of like when stuff starts to kind of get at me somehow a little bit personally, because then you start to come up with more ideas. Because normally what happens for me when I'm writing lyrics, they start out kind of like general, and then like there will be something personal. Even if they sound general to other people, they might start to feel more personal to me. So basically at this point, this is kind of what I have, and you could type that like yourself. I wouldn't copy these lyrics. I would just try to do this process yourself. And this would be like the verse. So let me do it again, and I'll make another recording. So you want to really make sure that you're making recordings of yourself. And voice memo is pretty good on the iPhone. I'm sure they have stuff like this for other phones, or you can just get something simple. So how can you stand and stare as the world passes by without a care? You stare, stand up straight, they'll think you're high. And right there needs to be a chorus. So I got rid of look alert because that didn't feel right before when I said it. Stand up straight feels better to say for some reason. So a lot of the way that I pick words when I'm singing is just because I like how they feel, like almost like it's sort of irrational, but I'm not thinking in like a rational way. So now I ended on D. And now I need a chorus. So this verse started on G, and I would recommend starting on G, just because the key is G major. But for the next part, I'll start on C. And I maybe give it more energy by doing faster down strums. So I'm still recording myself, which is fine. A lot of times I just record myself in case I do something cool, I can actually go back and find it. Because like I did in the beginning, I'd have to rewatch this video to hear how I sang that first part because it left my mind too fast. So I'll go through again, and then I'm going to try to come up with the chorus for the chorus, the chords for the chorus. So and you have to do a lot of repetition when you're getting your song going, and then all of a sudden a lot of times it will be easy. How can you stand and stare as the world passes by without a care? You stare, stand up straight, they think you're high, but I know they'll think you're high. So rather than stopping, I'm just going to kind of hum stuff. Like, somehow I'm getting the idea, like, you really know, like, you know, some idea, like, you want people to think one thing about you. That seems to be kind of the theme of the song. They'll think, so I go back to the end of that verse, they'll think you're high. Here I might do a trick like, but you really want them to know. So I want to give it more energy, so I'll switch faster. C, G. High, but you really want them. Sometimes you can sing more like stuttery, like instead of slow. So that's why I'm humming like. So right now I kind of know what I want to do, but I don't really want these lyrics to be super cheesy, and the idea isn't quite coming. So I'll probably go through the whole thing one more time now. Let's see if something comes. Otherwise, I have my recording, and then I'll just take a break and maybe work on it later. Because sometimes your brain just processes stuff when you're not thinking directly about it. So one other trick, because I'm probably not going to come up with these chorus lyrics right now, but one other thing, sometimes it's fun to sing with like kind of a fake voice. Like right now, I'm kind of singing sort of like I talk. But sometimes it's fun to sing like higher than you normally would talk, or like lower. So I'm not very good at singing high. Some people can do that pretty easy, but I can sing kind of low. And sometimes it just kind of gets you in a different mood. So like you can kind of play around with your voice. So how can you stand and stare? So I'm singing deeper as the world passes by without a care. Stare, stand up straight, they'll think you're high. But you don't but you gotta get the job, but you gotta get some dirt. So I'm starting to get like this gotta get like boring stuff done, like get. So I'm gonna write gotta get. And see, like when I was singing deep there, like it started to make me think about like Johnny Cash and stuff like that. So you can kind of like bring in like other stuff from your mind. And I know my chorus is gonna be C, G a bunch of times. So I'm writing a note for myself. And there's a good start for a song. So see at the bottom, I just wrote gotta get. Maybe I write gotta get a job. Maybe I'd throw in some stuff about gotta write some code, because I've been doing a lot of programming. Sometimes it's fun to throw like kind of weird personal little things in there, and then sometimes the song will start to be, like I said, more personal, and sometimes take on like a sort of more authentic dimension. So anyway, that's pretty much it. And make sure that you're doing these recordings. Like this thing that I still, my voice memo just finished recording. I just stopped it. So I mean, just like keep something going. Like when I first started playing guitar, I just used like a tape recorder and just had it going. And that's about it. So that's what I would recommend for like a first song. Just go through this process, and it might take a couple days or a week. I think it took me a week to really make my first song up, because I thought a lot more about it than I do now when I make up songs. But the other thing too is like, I think it's pretty fun actually when you have a song that just kind of comes out. So like, I mean, different people have different like aesthetic senses for like what they like about music, but I tend to like stuff that seems somehow kind of authentic in some way. So like this song I wrote just now seems a little weird, probably in part because I'm sitting here making it for other people, this process, so I felt a little self-conscious about it. But if you can kind of get into like an authentic mode, I think no matter what style you're doing, it's people tend to kind of like that. I mean, maybe not with pop music, but I don't know, I just noticed like when I would go to open mic nights or a lot of like smaller bands I liked, like they had more authentic sort of sound. So that's about it. If anyone has any questions about this process, just leave a comment. That's pretty much all I can say about it. So it seems pretty obvious to me what to do, but I know that when you're learning stuff like this, it can be tricky. So let me know.